Hi guys, welcome to another episode of
Taste Buddies!
So, today, the big topic of our episode today will be fermentation.
Wow.
Yeah, and Renyi is the one being a scholar here, bringing out his fermentation book. But yeah, so to start with, we've done like cooking separately and we've made things separately before, but we haven't done anything together. So, in planning this episode, I thought it would be cool, right, if we could make something together.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do. And we are making kimchi. No, not cabbage. Kimchi.
Oh, kimchi.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're going to be Korean aunties today.
Here's the thing. I've eaten a lot of kimchi. I've watched a lot of kimchi making videos.
Like Mang Cheese one?
Yes. But I've never gotten around to it because I feel it's a very messy business.
It is. It can be a bit messy, but
Actually, it's not. For me, it's not the messiness. It's like I don't know that much about the fermentation part, and that's the part that scares me.
What
if I put in all this effort, right, and it comes
goes
out
bad, right, and then you got lao sai, right?
More and lao sai, because I've done that before.
that's okay. But that's part of the fun of fermentation, right?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you need a clean environment to some extent, right? But I also understand that if the good bacteria, there's more than bad bacteria, your risk is less. How does that work for you when you make kimchi?
Yeah, so I mean, like for any fermented products, there's bacteria and like microorganisms like working to change the flavor of the thing. And like you said, right, you want the good stuff, not the bad stuff.
Yep.
And to control that, you can. Some people like add. I guess like some products have like starter bacteria or yeast that they throw in, and that kickstarts the whole process. But you can also like keep a very clean environment and make sure that that no dirty source of bacteria come into contact with your food. Right?
I don't know about you guys. Would you say that fermenting stuff is a dying art in Malaysia? Even though I know there's this new trend that's why this book was written by Noma, right? Because there's this trend in Europe where the chefs, fine dining chefs, are starting to ferment their own stuff, right? But I do feel that in Malaysia, I don't know, Asia or Southeast Asia, Malaysia particularly, I feel it's a dying art because our grandmas and mothers used to ferment stuff themselves. They would make their own salted egg, their own century egg, their own ikan masin, their own wine, their own everything, right? And we do what?
Well, the thing is, why do you need to do that when you can buy it off the shelf?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's like we get to buy and taste a lot of fermented products still, but maybe the art.
But I would disagree because there are new artisanal guys that's coming out and actually producing new age or new interpretation of fermentation on nicer packaging lah.
Yeah, right. I can see a few startups like your friend who makes the soy sauce.
Yeah, I have that on the side.
Get that. Yeah, so I think it's making a comeback, but it's sort of still in a young stage.
Okay, knows, after we make kimchi today, maybe Hong's kimchi on the supermarket shelves. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, so what do we need
here? Since I am the only one who made kimchi before, right? So you guys haven't made kimchi before?
Yeah.
I will slowly guide you through the process.
Alright, awesome. I'm looking forward
I think I'm a Korean auntie. Okay. When you make kimchi, right, you should use your hands. So like no need glove.
Okay.
Jang.
It's a time of COVID. I think we will just play safe lah.
Okay. So Hong, I want you to cut this into like quarters.
I'm gonna do something that annoys Renyi. Yeah.
That's so wrong.
If I work for him last time,
all that COVID bacteria is on his hand right now.
Okay, cut this into 4 quarters.
4 quarters. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, which way?
So you can do 4 quarters.
I split it first. Okay, got it.
You can split.
Is this actually the correct cabbage that they use?
Yeah. They use
it's Napa cabbage, right?
Yeah, Napa cabbage.
Oh, Napa cabbage is Chinese cabbage. I always thought it's a different cabbage.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like how different I am to my grandma, right? Like she makes everything, man. Like with pots of sayur masin buried at the back of the house and everything on attic hanging, this and that. Right. And
I think personally my fear is always, what if I fuck up?
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing.
I kill someone with my food.
But I blame her also. I never teach me, so what can do?
You never asked what.
A lot of times fermenting stuff gives you that specific taste of your place. Like for example, right, if you take the same recipe, right, you do like a Roquefort cheese, right, you do it in California, you do it in Malaysia, right, the cheese will come out. But if you do it in, you compare to the ones in France made there, right, the taste is totally different one. Just because of the bacteria in the environment and the ecosystem that they have there.
Exactly.
So maybe
Even you talking, breathing, the bacteria is coming out. Adds to that level
that's
of
what's
flavor.
gonna make our kimchi taste damn good. I read something in June's notes that made me totally cringe, but then I'm like, oh, that's why wine tastes so good. Later when he gets to it, I'm like,
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like, so the Koreans, they have this term they call like, I mean, I don't speak Korean, but apparently it's called like son mat or something. It's the taste of your hand. So every
that's why we shouldn't wear gloves.
yeah. So like every
Don't wear gloves,
one will
don't wear
have-
gloves.
Every like Korean auntie kimchi will taste different because
Yeah.
like the flavor of their hands will be different. Like the bacteria on your hands,
Should I
no matter
split-
how much you wash it.
Should I split this already? Sorry.
No need. You can just cut it.
yeah.
Cut like this, no?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. No
Sorry,
need to split it. Oh. Oh no! I thought just cut the root. Never mind. lah.
You want me to
Because
dump
want
this?
to keep
You want me to dump this?
one
All together. Sorry, I cut already. Sorry.
Yeah, can dump lah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
Okay. Then you guys both can do this. So you put it in this. You can put everything in this container, long.
Okay.
Then you guys can work together. Wait here. Lah.
Where's the ASMR, man?
Yeah, and then so what I want you to do is you take the salt, right? And then you have to
Okay.
put the salt in between like each layer. So you like rub the
What's
salt.
down here?
How much salt do you put? Otherwise, how much?
As much or as little as you want. You can put more. It's okay. We are going to
Okay.
wash it away afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So,
So this is to draw
am
out
I-
the moisture,
A
right?
bit, yeah.
So sorry, man. Am I supposed to rub it in between?
Yes. Yeah.
Fail, man. I cut off the thing.
Yeah. Never mind. This one is still intact.
Okay, I'm,
It's okay.
I'm gonna do the pouring. You do the rubbing.
Yeah, you
okay?
guys can do that.
So much.
No, it's to draw the.
Can.
Oh,
sure.
we got it. Okay. So with this is
So
not,
this one, I think
not in the end product.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I love you.
What the?
Is this cultural?
What are you
Is this
saying?
cultural appropriation?
I don't know.
I'm staying out of this for now.
Oh, it's getting cancelled.
Fifth episode in, cancel.
So yeah.
Kena cancel straight. Oppa Gangnam. That's not gonna. Just don't make any jokes about Blackpink. That's all I know.
About what?
Blackpink
Blackpink.
or
Yeah.
BTS.
BTS.
Okay.
That's all I know. That's like my rule.
Okay, sorry.
Don't piss them off. Sorry, June, man. I split all the thing already.
It's
man.
okay. It's okay.
But
No
isn't that
worries.
more
It will
efficient
still
that
make
way?
kimchi.
Isn't that more? Isn't that
No,
more
that's why you know
efficient?
how when you see the kimchi, the cabbage
It's
is always
still
in like
whole.
a bundle, right?
Why?
Nice,
Actually,
you
I
can
don't like
keep
it.
No, you can keep it easier because if individually, right, when you keep it, you have to stack again.
Okay. It's just
So
to
this is
save the
like-
work. Nature has bundled it for you.
Yeah.
Do you need more salt?
Don't buy it. June, how? Need more salt?
And more also can. It's okay.
More also can. Then we're gonna wash it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure everything is.
Is it sugar?
No, I know how to read.
I've made the mistake of using sugar in place of
Unless you put
salt.
sugar in here, just to troll people.
No, that wouldn't happen. But I've made that mistake before. And I was trying to brulee stuff, so I put salt instead of sugar. I was like, why is this shit not bruleeing?
Actually, right, you know, like when we were growing up,
Worst creme brulee ever.
kimchi wasn't a thing, right?
Well,
Because you're not Korean.
Yeah, but it's just I don't know when at some point people just started whacking kimchi like nobody's business.
I think when Korean food became a trend, I think
Yeah,
Japanese food first, sushi was a trend, and
Then
then
Korean.
Korean food.
Yeah.
And
For
then
me,
K-pop help also.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, I've heard of kimchi, but I was always told by my mom that, it's
Done, right?
very sour and
Yeah,
very sour.
you can clean this up. Okay, so here I am making like the sauce for it. So usually it starts off like in a pan, right? So you cook it over a stove with water. You bring it up to heat, and you put some like glutinous rice flour, and then you also put some sugar. I've already actually made that just to save us some time. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of like almost like a gloopy paste.
Can I smell it?
It doesn't smell much. It's just glutinous rice flour and sugar.
Oh, there is a bit of smell to it.
So instead of like regular like brown sugar, I gave it a bit of like, I guess like local Malaysian kind of spin. I subbed out some ingredients. So I'm using gula melaka that I melted. So I used it
That's
in
the
here.
smell.
So we're just gonna pour it in.
What is this again?
This is what they call like almost like the paste or the porridge to start off the kimchi sauce.
Is that where the yeast is and all that?
No.
What role does this play?
So this kind of gives the base of the sauce, and so it gets it a bit like thicker. And there's also I guess like sugar and water in it, so it helps to coat the cabbage leaves.
Cabbage leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we wash these leaves off first, or do we?
So usually you would leave this to kind of soak in the salt for maybe like a few hours.
Yeah.
But
We don't
Today
have.
it's okay.
But we still
don't
need to
have
wash
2
it out.
hours.
Otherwise, it's gonna be damn salty,
Yeah,
right?
we need to wash out. But it's okay. This will take maybe like another 5-10 minutes. We can leave it there.
Okay.
So
Also, you're mixing. So this will be the final everything
Yeah.
that you mix in lah.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
building that sauce now.
yes,
Okay.
so I'm building a sauce. You're gonna add in the like a paste of this is garlic, ginger, onions. So I
Oh,
blended it
smells
up. I'm just gonna put everything in.
Garlic, ginger, onion. In what ratio?
There's quite a lot of garlic in here. I use maybe this is about like 8 cloves of garlic, half an onion, half of 1 onion, and then like a thumb-sized piece of ginger. lor.
Smells good.
Yeah, so you just mix
It has
that
a Korean smell already.
It's a Korean smell already.
Yeah.
It's this way. You saying Korean people smell like garlic?
What? Oh yeah, why am I
Put
doing
words
this?
in my mouth.
I let you mix. I let you mix home. Yeah,
Everyone's getting cancelled today, is it?
Let's get cancelled together.
No, it has that Korean restaurant smell. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, then together with this, I'm gonna add some
Fish sauce.
fish sauce also. Oh, I want to show this to the audience.
Don't eat it, huh?
Again, fish sauce is fermented, so you add it in
Yeah.
to make a more fermented product.
Don't say it smells like Thai people now. Huh?
You can kind of measure it, but I think in this case it's okay. We just go by eye. Quite a lot.
dear.
But that's quite a lot.
Yeah, and then also, so in Korea they use like almost like a salted shrimp sort of mixture, but it's very hard to find in Malaysia. But what we can use is chinchalo, which is also another fermented product, but it's a very local thing.
As a Malaysian, we are more accepting because we're quite used to these
Yeah,
flavors,
Like
right?
strong flavors.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next ingredient, which again,
I noticed that we're eyeballing a lot of things, huh?
yeah, it's okay. You know,
Okay.
it's kimchi.
okay.
It's kimchi.
It's all about the feelings, man.
And again, another more
Campak,
local
campak.
ingredients. I've never tried
Wow.
this before. By adding in like asam jawa.
Okay,
Yeah, a bit of tamarind.
So is this a replacement of a Korean product, or
Not really, not really.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
something
Okay.
extra you want to add,
Yes,
lah.
this extra that I want to add just to see like, oh, I will add
What
more
flavor
nice
profile would it be?
Sour.
Yeah, it's a bit of sourness. Kimchi is usually sour like
Yeah.
on its own. It doesn't get any sourness from like vinegar or anything. It's through the fermentation process.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, but this just I don't know, just helps to build the flavor. Lor. And then finally, we're adding in the Korean chili powder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, eyeball everything. Can I
Yeah,
smell
It's
it?
quite a lot, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
It does have
It's
a
not like super spicy.
paprika note.
Yeah, but you can taste a bit. It's not like very spicy. It's good. So the process of like kimchi-fying things, right? Doesn't only it's not specific to cabbage
cabbage,
only,
yeah.
right? You can kimchi-fry anything like radishes, chives, some sort of like veggie or like perilla
Yeah.
leaves. Like they do a lot of different kinds of kimchi.
I like the
All
ones
of them
where they
kimchi
add
also.
like other forms of vegetables, whether it's onion, chives, and whatnot, and it really gives a nice texture rather than just cabbage
Yeah.
alone.
I like the radish ones.
So
I think he's
to
doing that.
Have it also. You like radish? You're gonna add radish.
Do we add it here or there?
No, so we're gonna add everything in here.
Ah, okay.
To make it into the
the cabbage is always on its own,
Yeah.
salted to remove the moisture,
Yeah.
and then you add. Okay.
And then, so we add the radish and carrot and some spring onions. And it's looking a bit thick now. I think we can add a bit of water.
Moisture,
lor.
moisture,
Yeah.
yep.
Again, we're like eyeballing stuff. Any Koreans watching this? Maybe they're like shaking their head.
Yeah, lah. All the oppa.
Yeah. Add a bit of water.
Say when?
Can? Okay.
Okay.
Mix it and see.
So do you actually make kimchi for yourself?
I've made it a few times before, yeah, at home.
Okay.
Just for fun.
I heard it's damn good diet food.
Very good. What? Diet.
Diet food, yeah.
Oh.
How does it help with dieting?
We'll talk about it in the rabbit hole later.
Oh, okay.
Damn deep.
I heard
rabbit
it's good for
hole.
your guts, but I never heard about it as a diet food though. That would be interesting.
Okay, now.
Okay, then you can taste it.
Oppa Gangnam Style.
Ooh. I think it needs more. The salt will come from that. I think it needs more fish sauce.
Maybe.
What?
It does have that kind of I think it was that one. Yeah. Okay. That's
chinchalo, is it?
where the
That
taste come from.
fishiness.
The fishiness. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
You don't know that it's good when you're
No,
taking
that's why I ate it.
Yeah, you
I
had the
forgot.
expression.
I forgot it was the budu. Chinchalo. Sorry.
What was that? Oyster sauce or?
No, gula
Gula
melaka.
melaka.
Okay.
It's more sweet.
Was that in there just now?
Yeah, so it was in the original, like the paste.
Ah, okay.
Maybe a touch more water also. Lah. Okay, can. Alright, then now I think can wash this
I'll
one
wash
already.
this? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this has been washed and we remove some of the salt from it. So the whole point of like salting is to just make it a bit softer and also
To remove the moisture, lah, right?
yeah, remove the moisture, draw it out a bit, and also make it. I mean, it will be slightly salted when we mix it all together anyway. And then you can squeeze out the liquid.
Wow.
Make sure it's like pretty dry. A bit
What
of
happens
liquid
if
is okay.
there's a bit more moisture than what?
It's okay. It's just your kimchi will be very like
Soggy.
yeah.
Also, you ferment anything with a lot of moisture, it will get moldy lah. It will chances of bacteria.
yeah. But that one will require like it will be like very wet lah. Yeah. Usually it's more like it will be more soft when you salt it for a few hours.
Yeah.
But this should be okay.
I'm just wondering whether it can be done scientifically. Like you measure the exact amount of salt that you need. Because I was googling your lacto fermentation, right? It's like there's this
Percentage.
2 to 3%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Salt
can.
content,
So it's like you weigh the
you weigh the
weigh
cabbage and the liquid.
But what you're doing here is not lacto fermentation, lah.
Yeah.
But I'm quite sure there is
technically it is.
Okay. Then sorry, you guys were in this session.
okay.
Go ahead.
Moving on.
Moving on. We'll
Okay.
argue about it later.
Then at this point we are going to put the chili spicy paste and kind of like rub it all over the leaves. At this point you can choose to wear gloves if you want, or if you want spicy hands, you can opt not to wear gloves.
You didn't want gloves, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stick to your
Okay.
guns then. No! I'll make sure he double sanitize his hands. What the f?
No, I think let Rengi mix.
What? You don't want to mix it? Okay, you guys
yeah.
can mix together. It's a bonding experience, guys.
Oh.
So let's say for this package of leaves, right? So what you usually want to do, right, is you take
Go in
some of
between, is
the
it?
Go in between.
and then you take one leaf and then you rub. Take one
Wear
leaf.
glove also.
So
After all that.
okay, so both of you can do
Conclusion
this.
is wear glove.
So you guys each take a parcel of
Okay.
cabbage.
Take a parcel.
Okay.
Try and make it as sexy as possible.
Yeah, put it for you.
Yeah, spray it out. In the between, huh?
In between.
Wait.
It's just gonna rain.
This
Now you can do kimchi slap. You want to do kimchi slap? Just take this wet. Why? Bro!
See, I told you it was gonna happen. I told you it was gonna happen.
You asked me to slap the kimchi,
F
I
me.
slap the kimchi, right, bro?
Oh my god.
I thought you asked me to do the kimchi slap.
I knew it was gonna happen. You encourage him, this is what happens.
Oh shit.
Karma.
Where's the tissue?
In my pocket, bro.
Oh my god, is that the only one?
Yeah. Put your hands in my pocket, bro. Let's go.
There's some outside.
Where?
Yeah, my pocket.
I don't. Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay, name on that.
You didn't see how bad
No
it
more
was.
slap.
no. Okay,
It's
no
bad,
more
it's
slap.
bad.
No more slap.
Okay, mine is good. Mine's thoroughly marinated.
Okay, next one.
One more. Okay. It's quite fun though.
Therapeutic to some extent.
Not
Unless you get some.
for me now.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
I was debating whether I should wear like a red shirt.
That's why you always wear black. At least I always wear
Yeah.
black. Why are you still putting my hands as the
kimchi your hands.
wipe my face. Yeah.
The job I have to do, I did not sign up for this.
Shit, it's
Thanks,
even
baby.
worse. Never mind lah.
Okay, thanks.
Ugh.
Personal assistant already. Okay, so you're gonna take that, wrap it into a nice parcel, and you're gonna put
Like-
it in. Yeah.
Oh, looks damn pro already.
You say it has to be aged for how long again?
As long as you want, to be honest. Some people
But
keep
minimum?
their kimchi for like few years.
Minimum?
It's not really minimum. You can eat it fresh like this.
Okay.
It just won't have that as complex or as sour of a taste. The longer you leave it, the usually more sour it gets. And usually after people leave it outside for maybe like a few days, a week, and then they put
so
it
it's
in
in
the
room
fridge.
temperature?
Yeah. So
I don't know, Malaysia temperature, I don't know. No?
maybe Malaysia is like very hot lah, so you
Aircon
can leave it
room.
in like a yeah.
Aircon room.
Or
Aircon
for
room.
a shorter duration, no?
Yeah.
Okay, you just to get the process started lah, and then you chill it lah.
Yeah. So usually at a lower temperature, the fermentation process is slower. Higher temperature will be faster, lor. So you leave it outside just to kickstart the whole process.
So click like, subscribe, and what
You
else?
get free kimchi.
And
You get
yeah, we'll
free
send one
kimchi.
jar to you, but we can't guarantee that it's edible. But it's a collectible.
It's a collectible.
June's shirt will also be part
Yeah.
of the sale.
Oh yeah. I won't watch this.
This episode is as funky as the
Okay,
kimchi.
you can press the whole thing down. Yeah. So the reason why you want to press it down and compact it, and usually people keep it in like a jar rather than like a tray. It's just less contact with air, the less chance of like, spoilage and mold and whatnot. Yeah. Because everything is like submerged. Yeah. Okay. So you want to squeeze out. Like, let's say, because here got a bit air pocket.
Oh.
Yeah, squeeze it a bit.
Make it.
Oh, that sound. Okay, so this is our kimchi. One lucky winner will win this, maybe. I don't know, man, what we're doing. But so with the magic of editing, I actually made another batch already.
Okay.
We're very lean, nah.
Yes, so
Actually-
this is the kimchi.
It's really warm.
Yeah, so fermentation makes things a bit warm.
yeah.
So it kind of looks like this. Ooh, it smells very funky.
Yeah, really funky.
Yeah.
This is the Malaysian weather, man.
Yeah.
You left this one out in the.
Yeah, so I left it
Room
in
temp.
room temp. Yeah, room temp. Yeah, see.
If three of us outside.
Yes, there's always, when it comes to fermented things, if you make it on your own, there's always a chance of diarrhea. Okay, so this is my kimchi. No
Exact
guarantees,
same
yeah.
recipe as today.
Yes, yes.
Close to
100%.
lah.
Same. I said we agar just now. I kind of measured it yesterday.
Oh, this one measured.
Yeah.
This one had more love lah.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
but it's
smell
one whole
the
parcel though.
Voodoo, yeah.
I think
Can
it's a bit strong. I made it a bit too strong.
Strong in what sense?
Too
Gao.
powerful. Too salty, too sour.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, thank
Maybe
you.
just needs time.
Does it mellow out over time?
It mellows out when you cook it actually.
This one is quite monotonous. All I taste is spice and salt.
Yeah, because it hasn't like fermented long enough, I suppose. Yeah. So the longer it goes, the more complex, the more
This is
sour.
on the first bite, that's what I'm getting. What are you getting?
It's very complex already, bro.
Rennie's face look a bit disapprove.
No.
Because it's got the voodoo.
Or it's a bit salty for me.
No, chinchalok. Okay, salty, yes.
A bit too salty.
I love the chinchalok.
It's too salty.
But will the salt mellow out or you feel like you put... Hey,
No, man. COVID lah.
just in case lah.
I feel like I put too much salt. Again, I have to disclaimer, this is not a authentic kimchi, I suppose, because we add
A lot
weird
of
things
localized
into it.
stuff, yeah.
Kimchi making session
Wow,
done.
Hard work, man.
Please, I didn't even get you to chop all the veggie, you know, all the carrot, the radish. Already chopped for you.
It's quite a lot of work. I mean, kudos to those that make it on a large scale.
This kind of served as an introduction to what we're going to talk about today, which is the topic of fermentation, right? And when we talk about fermentation, it always seems like, oh, it's this product that only restaurants can do, you can buy, you don't really have a lot of fermented products at home. But actually, many of your pantry ingredients, stuff in your fridge, are actually fermented. Right?
Shall we clear our plates, then go down the rabbit hole?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
We have a bunch of fermented products in front of us. So we can just like rattle off a few, right? Kombucha, soy sauce, yogurt, cheese. What's this?
This one is the dried sotong.
Dried sotong.
Yeah.
How is dry sotong fermented?
So when you salt it and you basically you dry it. Basically, what's happening is you are actually letting it rot.
Controlled rotting lah.
Controlled
Yeah,
rotting.
yeah.
So basically, it's just salt and the temperature and the sun preventing the bad bacteria to activate, and let the good ones, the good enzymes, which is already on the sotong or in the environment, to activate. So what it does is it breaks down the protein, and then it creates glutamate, which is MSG that we know, and then it creates other flavor compounds. After a while, right? Because I don't know this, I consider this a hack lah. Sometimes when you do business, right, and you do like mine, you have to have a big volume of sauces, which is very tasty. And the correct way to do it is to boil down bones and all that, and it takes ages. It takes long hours, big volume of bone, and you end up with very little sauce. So what I do from time to time is I add in all this fermented stuff to give it that extra MSG oomph. Yeah. And as a cook, right, this is a very powerful tool in everything you do, right? And this dry sotong, we use it in our lamb sauce. So we serve it with our lamb.
And you're not supposed to taste it, but it's an underlying
exactly.
flavor, right?
There's that underlying flavor. I'm not going for that sotong taste. It's that special MSG taste that I want.
That is developed over fermentation.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of fermented products, you can say the same, right? For a lot of fermented products, like the flavor itself is quite complex, and there's no other combination of other ingredients, like fresh ingredients, that you can make to recreate that flavor.
Yeah,
exactly.
And even things like chocolate and coffee, they do
actually
go
fermentation.
through,
Yes.
Yeah, they do go through like a fermentation process.
I think a lot of people don't know what coffee bean or chocolate bean, cocoa bean, looks like before it turns into that nice cup of coffee or bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
For cocoa at least, it tastes like soursop to me. It's like it's like a fruit with the
like
pods. Yeah. And then if you eat the pods on its own, the flesh doesn't contribute to the cocoa at all. But you can make juice and whatnot out of it. But it tastes like soursop. The seed is where the beauty comes in, right? I think they will put it in a vessel, and then they will just let the natural sugar ferment over time. And once that is developed, they take out the cocoa seed, they roast it, and then they will churn it.
So like all those chocolate bars, right? If you taste the raw product itself, it doesn't taste like the chocolate bar at all. It's only through the fermentation process that you get that complexity in flavor and that distinct chocolate flavor.
Oh, this is the kombucha.
Oh, this is the kombucha.
Actually, what is kombucha?
It's tea, fermented tea.
Fermented tea.
Yeah. So again, the process is very interesting. I have made kombuchas before where you have like a layer of like
SCOBY
bacteria. Yeah, they call it SCOBY.
SCOBY.
What's that? Symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. Yeah. So there's bacteria and yeast in this like almost like alien gunk, and then you put it in the tea. Over a few days, that thing will ferment the tea.
Yeah, and then it will create another layer of gunk, right? But you can continue that process.
Yeah. So just now, right, you guys were talking about how you were mentioning this sotong, right? It's like almost like a controlled rotting. Yeah. And it's actually very close, like fermentation and rotting. And if you think about it, it's like, oh, fermentation is like, sounds good. And rotting is like, oh, there's like terrible, things break down and it's like things die and then rotting, right? But actually they are both very similar processes. They're very close to each other. It's only that one is controlled, which is fermentation. So you want the good things. And rotting is like bad law, it's like out of control fermentation. And I saw one post on Reddit that like had this analogy. It's almost like a fermentation is like a rocket launch, and like rotting is like an explosion. So both have the explosive effect, but like one is very controlled and it ends up in like a good result. There's a purpose to it, and one is just like a wild explosion, right? For you guys, right, when you taste fermented things, right, what is the appeal to you?
For me, I think let's go back to when I first discovered fermented products, right? I always feel like my first impression, I think it was fish sauce, and to me is how can anyone eat this or use this, right? But then I realized that a lot of fermented products are not meant to be eaten on its own directly, and a lot of it has such a punchy flavor that you want to use it as a supporting flavor. But again, it's not the rule of law, right? The rule of thumb. For example, soy sauce, one of the most common fermented product that we use in our Asian cuisine, right? You can use that. You can take a fish ball or whatever else and dip it in, and it tastes good. But a lot of fermented products, like whether it's the sotong, whether it is fish sauce, I feel in general is super punchy. But again, as I grew to understand it more, then that it doesn't always have to be that way. And it, like yogurt, I didn't know yogurt was fermentation. For some reason, I always just thought that it's just milk and then it somehow curdled, and there you go, you have it. But anything that you play with bacteria, you play with yeast, that there is some level of fermentation to it, and that's for me my exposure to fermentation.
Yeah, and like the curdling itself is like, it's gone bad, right? It's like spoilage.
Well, if you leave milk out, it does curdle, but it has a very different result.
Yeah, because that again, right? It goes back to like the bad spoiling versus like a controlled one, which gives you yogurt, lah. Yeah, and Hong, like what when you use fermented products at your restaurants, right? Like you talk about like a sotong, but is that something that you do regularly? Like, do you seek for fermented products, fermented flavors, and use it regularly?
Actually, it's kind of a very deep subject, lah. I mean, for me, I think maybe when we started off, fermentation is just a means of preserving stuff, right? And then somehow
you mean our ancestors?
And also like in general, a lot of people think of fermentation as just a way of preserving stuff. Like you got extra vegetable, you just put it into salt water, like keep it longer lah. But I think what I enjoy most about fermentation is the byproduct, which is when bacteria or enzymes work on the food item that you want to preserve, and it creates all these complex flavor compounds that you wouldn't get from a normal if you eat the fruit straight or you eat the grape straight, you won't get this kind of flavor. I mean, that's why I love things like cheeses and wine and durian, and all these are very, very heavy and complex flavors, which I think you can get only through fermentation, right? For a good example is a sotong, and then another good example is blue cheese. A lot of people associate it with rotting or something smelly. Actually, stinky cheese doesn't stink. It's just that not many people will understand the complexity of the flavor. So they associate it with the process, which is, like we said just now, is the controlled rotting. I mean, it is that same process. It's just that technically what you should enjoy is all these flavor notes that you wouldn't normally get. Yeah. Like for example, I give you one very good example. A lot of people don't understand why people dry age beef as well, right? So a lot of people like when I first started doing it in my restaurant, a lot of people say like, "Oh, it smells like socks." I remember Renyi's first.
That one was partially rotting. Okay.
This was the raw piece. It's like a already dry aged.
Haven't cooked lah. So it smells like something dead. It smells like socks. It smells like someone's armpit or whatever. I mean, that is the simplest way to understand it. But then again, the reason why I like dry aged beef is because once the enzyme starts breaking down the collagen, that is the primary objective, right? People started dry aging beef is because they want the enzyme in the beef to break down the collagen, so that it's more tender. But in the process of doing that, all the enzymes and bacteria, after 14 days, if you continue letting it age, what it does is it creates all these extra compounds, the flavor compounds, which are more complex, and I suppose people will call it smelly. And then it also creates amino acids and all that, like glutamate, like, again MSG again. So it always come back to me to these two components that which I enjoy about fermentation.
Yeah, and you talk about like breaking down, right? So that is essentially what is happening, man. So when you talk about like rotting, decomposition, it's like things are breaking down into like smaller parts, and that's actually what's happening in many cases of fermentation, if not probably all, right? Where originally, like the original product, let's say like the soybean itself, or let's say for the kimchi, the cabbage, right? There's the molecules in there is like very big, and it's like too big for our tongue to like perceive and to taste, right? But through fermentation, all these like microorganisms, bacteria, yeast, and whatnot, they work to like break down these like complex sugars and starches and whatnot into like smaller parts. Then we can taste more flavor, and also there are more different parts also.
Yeah, and then I also find it very interesting. I don't know if you want me to go into this too early on. I mean, do you want to talk about the science of that?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So I think the part which I find very interesting, right, is different stages of fermentation yields different results and flavors. Let's say you fermented sticky rice, like glutinous rice. So the first stage of fermentation, right, it would like the one we discussed just now, the lacto fermentation. What it does is it breaks down the starch and turn it into sugar, right? So the sugar and the flavor compound that it creates is the sweetness and then the sourness, right? That is the flavor compound that you get. So that's the first stage of fermentation. If you let it go further, then the yeast will start eating the sugar that it generates, right? And then it will spit out as byproduct ethanol. So that's where alcohol comes into play.
Yeah.
So alcohol comes into play. So it becomes a different flavor profile already. And then if you let it go further on, right, then it will start turning the alcohol into acid again, right? So it has this self-preservation way of self-preserving it, and then changing at the same time. So from rice pulut, you become let's say the dessert that we all know, tapai, right? Is sweetish fermented rice, sticky rice, and then it goes into the alcohol zone already. Becomes very alcohol. That's when you can get the tua and rice wine out of it. Okay, then if you let it go further, it becomes rice vinegar. So you see, like from this process, right, you get the range of it is damn big one. Like I never knew this, right, until someone actually told me, you know that you can actually make alcohol out of anything, right? You can ferment broccoli, You can ferment cherries. You can ferment durian. You can ferment whatever. You can just make alcohol out of it if you know what you're doing.
Whether it tastes good is a different
thing.
These whole parts, right? It's like different microorganisms are at work at different stages.
Yeah.
And like you said, right? You can take it out at any point and it will taste like different.
And not for the lack of trying. If you read all the name of the bacteria, you get pening. Seriously. It's nothing simple, right? But then again, my grandma used to do it. I'm pretty sure she doesn't know all this.
All our grandma's products on it.
And it's all like by feel, by experience. Like, when I add this thing, right, it's like, this happens and it tastes better, right? And I think that speaks to the origin of a lot of fermentation as well. Like that's not how people, like in the past, right, in like, few thousand years ago, it's not as if people knew about, I can add yeast if I put like, some raw veggies, raw broccoli or something into water and just make it into alcohol or whatnot. It's not as if they knew the science behind it, but they were just trial and error. And that's actually how like wine came to be. Like why do you think people have that whole stepping on wine thing? Right?
Exactly.
Is it the feet bacteria?
Exactly. Because
go yeast on your feet, bro.
There's all this like bacteria and yeast in your feet. And also like the grape skin and whatnot, right? Which is probably the cleaner one. But that's how people step on it, and then it after a while you leave it in like a pot or something, it turns into alcohol and it tastes good.
So I'm sure it's something like this, right? They have a lot of grape. They're like, okay, guys, let's just step on it, get the grape juice, right? Then they had the grape juice with their feet yeast in there, and then they're like, okay, let's put it.
We cannot finish today.
Put it like that. Then one day they took a sip and like, wow, happy juice.
And a lot of the times, like all these culinary inventions are like accidents, right? And again, like a lot of our fermented products go back like ages ago. So like bread, apparently like the Egyptians were very good at like perfecting the art of making bread, which is very different from what we have nowadays. Which is more like factory process.
I read that a couple of months ago they found intact yeast in an Egyptian tomb, and they were able to create bread out of that yeast. From there. So you had bread that was technically, few hundred years. Is it 100 years plus old? Even 1,000 years old.
Thousands
of years old.
Egyptian pyramid is 5,000 years old.
And then stuff like, in China they use like soybean, a lot of tofu, soybean curd, right? Apparently that was initially used for like medicine, like antibiotic. They will rub like, Foochow on your
really?
So
people slapping Foochow on their wound.
Foochow slap. And along with all these like moldy soybean stuff, they also use like their version of like cheese and dairy, and that's why there are so many different kinds of cheese from across the world, right? Because everyone at some point they had some leftover milk, something that they somehow turn into yogurt or turn into cheese by accident again.
You know that story they always tell at our school? I don't know, you guys heard this? They tell you this story when you're growing up.
What is?
So the story of how cheese was created was in the desert somewhere in Arabia. There was this traveler. So he put milk into the sack made from the bladder of the camel. So they after a few nights of journey, then he tried to drink
on the camel back.
And then the thing was like solid already, already.
That's how cheese was invented.
But that's totally too simplistic. I tried to read into the microbes that causes cheese to be made. It's so complex that I'm like, wow, it's actually a miracle that we managed to pull it off. It's like at this age, right? During these times, right, we feel like there are a lot of things which is we already know and discovered, but yet in simple things that we consume, there's a lot of science behind all this fermentation thing, which is not yet, totally understood yet. Right? It's kind of amazing that we are still producing. We can produce and replicate all this stuff, man.
Like fermentation now there's a new age of fermentation, right? Like your book, the Noma's Guide to Fermentation.
So I want to talk about garum. Right, it's the new age, hip, fine dining word to use, right? We use garum on this, and garum is basically fish sauce. Fish sauce is a type of garum. Right.
But you can make it from anything else.
You can make it from anything. And one of our friend, Chai, right? Recently he visited me, and he was showing me some of the funky stuff he was testing, right? So let me read to you what people have made garum from. There's beef garum, there's roast and shrimp garum, there's squid garum, there's roasted chicken wing garum, there's bee pollen garum, there's yeast garum. You know what he made? He made grasshopper garum.
Oh.
So dried
Do you
cricket or
taste it?
yeah. So to me, there were a different few flavors. There was beef, there was fish and whatnot, right? And they all tasted the same but different. That subtlety, that nuances is what made it it. Ironically, the grasshopper one tastes like shrimp. If you didn't tell me it was grasshopper, I would think it tastes like shrimp. Right? But the complexity, I can see. I can see that if I add a drop of that on my beef burger, let's say, it will add that saltiness to it that it needed. Alright, but at the same time, it will give this layer of complexity that I would not find on normal beef with just salt and pepper. Right? But the process of doing it is fairly easy but complicated. The concept is easy. The extraction, the timing, the temperature, all those are the tricky part.
So Hong, are you going to put a grasshopper instead of this sotong into your lamb sauce?
Hey, with the world climate crisis and supply crisis that we're going through, who knows?
I'm not that trendy.
Insects
You don't
might be the next
have
way
to
to
tell anyone. You
go.
don't have to tell anyone. Just like no one knows that you put this sotong inside, right? Yeah.
Hey, haven't you guys been to the Thai market or Vietnamese market and then they sell those dried insects?
Yeah.
It tastes like shrimp, right? Dried shrimp, right?
Yeah, I mean like all those like the smaller. I tried the smaller ones before, and
yeah.
they taste really good. Like you just like fry them, and then they put like I don't know like lime and
Yeah.
whatever, MSG, right? Yeah, then it tastes
I don't
really
know.
good.
I'm really thinking grasshopper, cricket, soy sauce, or fish sauce is the way to go.
Grasshopper kimchi, you're gonna do it next. Oh my god.
It's got a nice crunch.
Yeah, so I think we can move on to more, I guess, restaurant setting or application topics. And one of the things that I was like always curious about, right? And because I don't own restaurants, right? I maybe don't know about this. But when it comes to fermentation, right? Most fermentation have alcohol as part of the byproduct, right? And so in terms of like halal certification, right? Is it very hard for fermented foods, fermented products to gain certifications, or even if you have, if you use some sort of fermented food in your restaurant, will it be tricky?
At the current stage, my restaurant don't use a lot of fermented items except for soy sauce. So I'm not educated enough to talk about that. But I think Hong might have some insight to that.
Yeah, so I did a bit of research into this because I think one of the most talked about topic in terms of fermented food, right? There are a few examples which are very sort of controversial, but it's actually not controversial at all. The one that people like to talk about the most is the shoyu, the Japanese shoyu, and also the tapai. Because these two products, I think they contain quite a significant amount of alcohol. I think tapai is 2% to 3%, where you know like compared to beer is like 4 or 5, 4.5 something, right? So it's actually quite high. So a lot of people like start to question these things like why is tapai allowed to eat and everything. Actually, it's very simple. I googled it. You just have to go to Jakim website. There's this e-fatwa by what they call the MKI, the Majlis, I think Murazaka or something. So they are the national body of that governs and try to homogenize the execution of Islamic laws in Malaysia, right? And they say that it's very simple. If the alcohol is produced as a byproduct of a certain food item, then it's not considered haram, right? So you can consume it. But if your alcohol is produced and then you have the intention to filter it and produce alcohol to get high or to get drunk, then very simple confirm is haram already. And it's very clear. There's no doubt here. It says that in the e-fatwa, right? I think it was item number 4 or 5. It says that tapai is halal to eat. Exactly that tapai issue was I think using tapai as an example, you can roughly,
gauge like the rest
how you can apply to the rest of the food item already. So, but the takeaway that I got from reading that fatwa, right, the e-fatwa from Jakim, you go to the Jakim website, right, it's very simple only. If the intention is to produce alcohol for consumption, right, you want the alcohol to get drunk or whatever, then simple as that is haram. Like if you produce soy sauce or fermenting all this and it has a little bit of alcohol in it as a byproduct, then no worries. That's what it says very clearly. Yeah.
All about intent.
Speaking of tapai, I think you have some samples for us.
Yes, man. Have you eaten tapai before?
Nope.
Damn racist. Have you eaten tapai
Why is it racist?
I'm also a racist apparently.
Oh my
so
god.
Okay.
Let's the only one that's
let's get
not
educated.
racist.
Let's be better Malaysians today. Okay, guys. So this is one type of tapai. This tapai, I actually prefer the ubi one, but this is the pulut one. So the pulut one is a glutinous rice lah. So what they do is they cook the glutinous rice, and then they pound the ragi, which is the yeast, and then they sprinkle on the rice, and then they keep it for 2 or 3 days until it's fermented with a little bit of alcohol content in there, right? So if I let this process run, right? If I let this process run further and further, it will start producing rice wine already, right? So this is like the early stages lah. And this is one of the most interesting dessert I've had lah. Yeah, there are many ways to eat it. Normally, people have it in weddings and when they celebrate something, they have it. But then I saw there's a lot of trend. People started to eat this with milk and ice cream. So today we have some vanilla ice cream from my friend, the ice cream bar. Thank you to Inside Scoop Tapai for sponsor. So you just put the tapai in there, and you just eat it together with the ice cream. And this one is wrapped in the daun getah, right? So the leaf from the pokok getah. Sometimes they wrap it in daun pisang. So before you do it, I think you smell it. You smell the beer.
You see?
It smells it smells like the alcoholic fermentation.
You can eat it neat. You can just whack it straight away, or you can eat it with the ice cream. Yeah.
Is it naturally sweet or it's got?
Because of the glutinous.
Yeah. So
rice
there's a few ways of doing it. Some people, I think this is in general also lah. Some people when they ferment something, they put some sugar in it to kickstart the yeast. Because yeast wakes up when it needs sugar to wake up. So they put some sugar in there to wake it up. But I think this one is the sugar that you're tasting is purely from the fermentation. So the yeast already started breaking down the starch of the rice and turning into sugar already. So that's why I say the next stage is the yeast will start eating the sugar and turning into alcohol. And this is where the early stage of that is happening already. So there's a saying in Malay, right? Making this tapai, there's so much pantang, right? It's like even the wind blow the wrong way, then this thing become asam already, right? There's so many pantang when they make tapai traditionally. There are many things. One is cannot put it near anything red color. You shouldn't be consuming anything sour. Women shouldn't be having their menstrual thingy. Right.
Period.
Yeah, and then you shouldn't put it near wear certain color clothes and all that. So it's damn like that's for me, right? It's very interesting to see because people know this thing is very finicky, right? You have to do everything right, like fermenting things. That's why me and Renee we don't dare do kimchi. You do one thing wrong, you fart the wrong way. Next thing the kimchi come out black or blue, who knows, right?
But that's our assumption. But apparently it's not so difficult, at least for kimchi. Now here's the funny thing. Ice cream bar obviously is famous for its alcoholic ice cream. But when eating this together, I feel like I'm eating their alcoholic ice cream because this range that we got, the vanilla flavor, is not alcoholic.
Yeah.
Right?
It's from the Tapai.
Yeah. And it tastes
good.
It's got a juice, man.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna have one more.
Yeah. Oh.
Actually, I think the trend started is they put this in Chendol. So if there are certain Chendol stores,
yes.
you can get Tapai as an add-on.
Oh, maybe I'll try and make something weird with this.
Yeah, bro.
You should.
You should.
So just now you were saying how, when you hear about all this like pantang from making tapai, right? It makes you a bit more anxious of fermenting things, right?
No, it's just the understanding of, how special the process actually is. But scientifically speaking, from my experience doing dry aged beef, right, it always come back to that few factor. Temperature, humidity, and time. These three things. Because if I do dry aged beef, right, any of these factor goes off, there's a few thousand ringgit down the drain already. I'm not even joking. Yeah, it always comes down to these three factors.
And I think more than that, it's also like hygiene, right? Like if your environment is clean, you have very little to worry about like your fermented product like going wrong or spoiling. Yeah. So after today making kimchi, do you feel like you will make more fermented things? Maybe you will make tapai, man.
If I make tapai, it will be the Foochow version, right?
What's a
So
Foochow?
I wanted to share with you guys, right? I never knew, right? I eat at Putien for so long. I didn't know it was Foochow.
What?
This
Putien,
Chinese
is it?
restaurant, Putien.
Yeah,
The Taiwanese
right.
restaurant. Okay.
So, okay, for you viewers out there, if you want to know what we are talking about, right, this flavor compound set is very hard for me to explain. I go to Putien, there's one Foochow dish in there called the red wine chicken, right? So the chicken is cooked from the residue of this rice when Foochow people make their rice wine. So what happens is this Tapai thing, right? Already cook glutinous rice. They put the red yeast, put it in a jar, so they let it ferment for 40 days. So after that, they take out the wine and all this residue inside. They use that to cook the chicken, and that taste profile, right, is fucking effing amazing. That you all have to go and eat it. Like I will bring you guys go there now if we can.
You can. Atra has one.
Yeah.
It's 12 o'clock.
Yeah. that is such a special taste. It's one of my top 5 dish lah. Top 5 dish. Yeah. Because how do you explain this kind of taste? Yeah, it only comes from fermentation. Yeah.
Go taste it.
Go taste it. Go taste it.
Wow, a lot of sponsors today,
Yeah.
Putien,
Yeah,
ice cream
kombucha.
bar.
Hey.
Wow, kombucha. With that, I think we can bring our episode to a close. I think, actually, me
So wrap up.
researching a bit on like fermented stuff, right? But actually, I think I learned a lot from home, especially about Tapai.
We always learn a lot from home.
Just try to
learned
make you
that I'm a
guys
racist.
more Malaysian.
Yeah, but I hope you guys had fun making kimchi, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching them making kimchi also.
Yeah, this has inspired me to explore more fermented stuff into my products.
Yeah, maybe not grasshopper though.
And if you need help making fermented stuff, you can call us.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, see ya!
Alright, bye guys.